There we go. The boys are back. Aaron Judge is back, and the Mets are back under 500. That and plenty more topics that we're going to discuss on episode 4 of the Black Diamond podcast. Well, I guess it was really 30 to 60 seconds, but welcome everyone to episode 4 of the Black Diamond podcast. I am one half of the hosts for you tonight, Maddie Trainer, joined by my co-host Chris Hecker. We are part of the umbrella of the Middle Initial podcast under the Ascension Podcast Network. Um, Chris, how are we doing tonight?
Doing good. The Yankees just doing what they do best, beating the absolute piss out of the Twins. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter the time or place. We own that. We own that poverty franchise, and so things are good. Had a good birthday weekend out in the great state of Colorado, and the Yankees took 2 out of 3 against Tampa. So yeah, the vibes are high now, as the kids would say.
Yeah, I was going to say that maybe it was the Aaron Rodgers effect for owning Minnesota for how many years now he comes to New York, but this has been going on since we were kids that they just
Oh yeah, this has been going
absolutely
on.
destroy the Twins.
It's
I
been
don't
at
know what it is.
least yeah. I think if yeah, I couldn't even tell you what the record is, but if you go, it goes back to like at least 2004, maybe even before that.
Yeah, and it's not like that there's anyone from those Twins team. I mean, Joe Mauer probably just retired a couple of years ago, so he was the last of the
Yeah, I
dying
think
breed there.
he's. Yeah, I think he retired. I think he's like eligible to go into the Hall of Fame, or he might
Or he
even.
is, right?
He, I think
He may
he
be
is.
one of the people going in this year.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure he is going into the Hall of Fame this year, and deservedly so. But yeah, they just couldn't. They couldn't get it done against the Yankees, like
Oh, no.
ever.
No.
Like the amount of times they've beaten, the amount of times, like the amount of games that the Twins have won, like against the Yankees in the last 20 years, you probably could count on your hands.
Yeah, and I don't even like it was definitely sporadically. And it definitely wasn't in the playoffs at all. It'd always be the first round matchup and then it would just be like, okay, who are the Yankees playing in the next round? Like who's on the other side of the
Yeah.
bracket that that's
Yeah, it
going,
was always either. Yeah, those are always pretty quick series for the most part. Like it was pretty rare they'd even like. It was pretty rare if they even like pushed the series to like 5 games.
Yeah, yeah. If they still won it all, then that was like a win for them per se, like being in the
Yeah,
playoffs and getting a win against the the Yankees.
yeah. They you got to celebrate what you can, especially uh in Minnesota.
Oh, for sure. Did you end up going to a Rockies game this weekend?
I did, yeah. So I went to the Rockies game on Saturday. It was a really good time. The Rockies wore their City Connect jerseys, which they look they look a little better in person, I'll say. And honestly, as far as the City Connects go, like the Rockies City Connects definitely are not my favorite, but I feel like there are ones that are way worse than theirs. They're kind of like, I'd say, like middle of the pack, but I thought they looked cooler in person. But yeah, it was like a pretty good back and forth game. The like the Rockies hit a home run like as we were walking into the stadium, and then the Rangers scored a couple, and then like the Rockies tied it up, and then like I think like the Rangers scored one to go up 3-2, and then like in the eighth inning, the Rockies just like went off, and they scored like 5 unanswered runs that inning, and they won 8-3. And then actually went to the Colorado Avalanche playoff game against the Stars that night too. But yeah, Coors Field was sick. It was my second time there. My second time at Coors Field. My first time having a Rocky dog, which uh, I don't know what it is. And also, like, I guess as of late, the Rockies are like the hottest team in baseball right now. They have like 7 straight wins. I know we're not really a Colorado centric podcast, but yeah, the Rockies are on fire right now. Um, and they even have some they even have some people that might be worth like streaming in fantasy. But yeah, I had a Rocky dog for the first time, and I gotta say that's probably one of like the best ballpark hot dogs that I've had maybe ever. um you got to get it like fully loaded with like everything on it, but it's a solid like foot long. It's at least a foot long. And yeah, it was delicious. So yeah, no, it was a great time. And yeah, if you're a baseball fan and you're trying to get if you're trying to get out to the ballparks, you know Coors Field should definitely be like higher on your list than higher on your list than lower. I'll say that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I think yesterday I like looked. I was just checking on one of my fantasy teams, and my ERA was like 10 something, and I was like, What the hell?" And I saw that they like lit up Michael King like over 5 innings for like 8 runs, and I was like, Jesus Christ, that the Rockies
Yeah.
are kicking ass. But but obviously, I was gonna say everyone wants to know the biggest question is what you get to eat, which you said was the dog. So what's the fully loaded package on there?
I mean, it's basically just like a hot dog with like all the like I guess like all the stuff. It had like peppers and shit on it. It had like peppers and like onions. And then obviously put some ketchup and mustard on it, some relish. Yeah, I don't know. It was just like yeah, it was just like I barely even remember like what was on it, but I just remember it was really fucking good.
Yeah, it sounds like if they offered it, then you got it.
Yeah, like I was online and like I don't know, because I'm used to like you go to a ballpark and like they show like on the menu like these like sexualized pictures of these hot dogs where they look like the greatest, they look like the greatest thing ever, and then they just like kind of hand you a plain glizzy and you have to go and you have to go and doll it up yourself. But I saw like some people were just getting like plain hot dogs, and then other people were getting them like with everything on them. So I was like, yeah, let me get one of those with all the stuff. And they're like, oh, you want the loaded hot dog? I was like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Load
I'll
me
take
up.
that. I'm not trying to raw dog it with a plain hot dog. That is
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
not hitting
not
the
in
taste buds.
not in this economy. I mean, shit, it's not like you don't even have to pay extra for like the stuff on it. At least I don't think you do. I didn't
E-
see anything to indicate such.
exactly. Like if I'm getting a hot dog at a ballpark, I'm getting a fucking hot dog.
Hell yeah. Yeah, as God intended.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of good eats, that transitions into probably the highlight of my weekend at City Field. I went both Friday and Saturday, recapping the Mets. On Friday, I actually got to meet three of people of our Discord. The leader of the two leaders of the Middle Initial podcast, Jude and Andrew Case, and our boy Stefan flew over from Arizona for the weekend. It was the first time meeting all three of them in person. It was absolute blast. You know, only shitty part in the beginning was that it was raining. Not as windy on Friday as it was on Saturday, but we had club access on our tickets. I guess like at least where the section in City Field where I always buy my tickets, which is like to the right or left of the Apple. Usually those are season ticket holders, so like you get club access. So we had access to the Piazza Club. So we went in there. Got to watch Jose Katana pitch. Not terribly. A soft hand lefty going against the Braves. He's going to give up runs, but the way he was, it looked like he was just like throwing batting practice to them. There was, I think, 2 outs. It was like in the third or fourth inning, and he walked someone, and then all of a sudden there was just like three home runs in a row. There was Acuna hit like an absolute bomb to the Apple, and then Albies afterwards he hit like a fly ball that went down the left field line, and it looked like it was going to be like either a foul or a fly ball, and it just got over. We were just like, this is not going to be the night. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, Olsen came up, and I shit you not, I've never seen a ball get out of quicker, like over the fence than his hit. Like I don't know if there was no movement on the fastball or he thought he was just trying to get me an over pitch, but literally there was like no launch angle to this ball at all. It swiftly
Just an
got out.
absolute piss missile.
Yeah, as soon as he hit it, I was like, "Oh, that shit is gone." And at that point, I knew the Mets weren't scoring runs, so like, I said last week on our episode, I just traded for Matt Olson in the fantasy league, so I was like, "All right, fuck it. If we're gonna lose to the Braves, I'm gonna I'm gonna root for him to hit a home run. Like, fuck it."
Yeah. Did he hit that? Did he hit that off Diaz, or is that off Quintana like earlier
That
in the
was off
game?
Quintana. It was all in the same inning. I think it went down. Yeah, it was all in the same inning, and we were just like, yeah, this is not happening because the Mets were getting mowed down by Charlie Morton. Like it was like he was vintage, like in his prime on the Astros World Series teams. It was absolutely
Of
like
course.
disgusting, and
Yeah.
it was they were actually he was actually flirting with a no hitter for a little bit, and then
Yeah, I think I saw
both
the no
games I
hitter
was
alert.
there. Yeah, both
No shit.
games. Yeah,
Yeah,
on
I think
Saturday.
at one point, I think at one point over the weekend I saw that there was like a no hitter alert for one of the Mets games. It was probably the Friday game because I was like more tuned in that day. But uh, yeah, I think I did see that, and then I did watch like the very end of that game because I was like, oh, like Maddie's here with Case Jude and Stefan. I'm kind of like interested to see like what they're seeing right now. So I watched like the bottom of the ninth, and I saw where JD Martinez like just missed like tying the game.
Yeah, dude.
Or would that have been a walk off? I forget, but
I,
like
yeah.
I think
I
I
think
think it
that
would have
was
tied it.
Yeah, it was gonna tie it because when we were heading out, that's when it was picking up, and then we were just like, oh, of course, that's when they're gonna start rallying, like once we
Yeah,
fucking leave,
once we
because
decide we gotta get out of here.
yeah, Stefan had to catch a train. I think it was like to Ronkonkoma or something like that. So we were
Ronkonkoma.
Yeah, Ronkonkoma. So we had to like line it up that we all did. It also started a little later, but yeah, it was so bad at that point that literally like Case and Stefan, I was in between them. They both had like the Knicks game on. There were people up above us that had the Knicks game like on their phone, like, and we knew that the who was on the Wi-Fi or not because we would just hear like bang, and we're like, oh no, like are they Pacers fans? Are they Knicks fans? Like what's going on? And then um so we witnessed two losses from the New York teams on that in that stadium.
Yeah, that's double whammy for sure. But yeah, I mean, hopefully it was at least a good time with the fellas. It looked fun from the pictures that I saw. And then you went back, and then you said you went back the next day too, and met up with some Mets, some Mets Twitter folk. How did
Yeah,
that go?
yeah, no, that was a great time too. Despite that was probably the most, I guess, exciting like game to go to when your team is getting like possibly no hit. Like so, JD Martinez, ironically again, he was the one who broke the no hitter at the bottom of the ninth with a home run. And I shit you not, like that stadium went like nuts. Like it was like he tied the game, and it was like the biggest sigh of relief, especially too because it wasn't. I forgot who was pitching that day for them, but they came out early. I think in like the sixth or seventh, they threw a lot of pitches. So it wasn't even like a true no hitter. It was like one of those piggyback ones with the bullpen. So like it
Oh,
wasn't
like a
even
team no hitter.
yeah, so it wasn't even exciting from that standpoint to witness that.
Yeah,
Like it was even like you're witnessing like domination.
yeah.
But I went with shout out to Marissa and Taylor from Mets Twitter and our Twitter league run by the Jingle Man. Met a couple other people, Ash, this guy
The
Sean.
Jingle Man.
Yeah, the Jingle Man. He actually got invited. I think he met Steve Cohen with his like guy that he does these jingles with. Like he does it like for all the players. So like for like Brett Beatty, he'll do like a his own lyrical jingle with like "Hit Me Beatty one more time" and
Oh
like
shit!
yeah, he did like
Is this
a
guy
whole
like
new.
famous, kind of like Twitter
He's
famous?
definitely famous in like Mets Twitter, but like he's also like, I mean, I think I don't know if like SMY or the Mets are like trying to collab with him and his buddy because his buddy's like Jordan, who I actually saw on Saturday. He like does like I think he does music for a living, like so like he always does like recaps of like the piano, guitar, and stuff like that. So they've just been
Oh,
like
that's
vibing
cool.
with this thing for a few years and. That's like I met him from like seeing his videos, and then like he was like, "I'm gonna start a fantasy league. Who would do it?" And I'm like, "Fuck it!" With a bunch of Mets fans, I'll do it. Uh, I didn't get to see the Jingle Man, but uh, yeah, Taylor has season tickets. Got to meet her for the first time, and got me and Marissa. I actually sat in the same section, ironically, both days. But on Saturday, the wind was freaking picking up, and of course, I just go into Jersey and nothing else. So like, I was just sitting there watching the Mets not hit anything, and just so I definitely enjoyed the atmosphere of City Field, the vibes of friends, and definitely the food for that weekend. But I mean, I got to see Christian Scott his home debut at City Field.
That's
You know,
sick.
yeah, he gave up 3 runs, but also in like 5 innings, he had like 8 strikeouts. So like the stuff is there. He just had a couple of, I forgot who hit. I think it was Ozuna, uh, of course, the douchebag. I think he hit the 3-run home run off of him, and that so but I mean besides that he was like absolutely dominant going against the Braves lineup and the other exciting part was seeing Sean Reed Foley pitch because I don't know if you remember his mechanics, but he used to like bend down and squat. Like I'm talking about
Oh,
this guy's doing
that's
a
who that guy is.
yeah, like he like this Italian mustache, and then he would like do this deep squat and then get up and then pitch. But I guess since the pitch clock, and he just got back from injury this year, so I guess he changed up
So now he pitches like a
that.
normal person.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of weird, and the aura was kind of gone. But seeing him come in and his entrance was it was pretty funny for me. But it got me thinking too of what we left off on last week is that you posed a question of two separate questions of what our batter walk up song would be. And then what would if we were a closing pitcher or a relief pitcher coming in, what would our walk in
Like
song would be?
walkout song, yeah.
Yeah, coming out of the bullpen. So I would love to hear, you started off for us with either, as a batter or closer,
Yeah, yeah. Before I do that, I did want to mention something because this just kind of reminded me of it, but I wanted to share because I mean you had two close calls with no hitters this past weekend, and I wanted to share the one time, like the closest time I ever got to like seeing a no hitter in person. I assume something neither of us have ever seen. There, are really not too many people in the world that can like say they've witnessed a no hitter. I mean, yeah, it's like something thousand people, but like not, in the grand scheme of things, like very few people, like a very small percentage of people could say they've seen anything like that. But the closest I ever got to a no hitter or seeing one was, I think it was 2018. It was a game between the Reds and the Pirates. It was like the first weekend of like April, and I think it was also like very cold this day. Uh, but me and my buddy went to this game, and there was like hardly anybody there, and we saw Jameson Tyon throw a complete game one hit shutout against the Reds, and the one hit he gave up was to the pitcher. Uh,
Oh no.
Yeah, so he gave a hit to the pitcher in like I think like the fifth or sixth inning that day, and that was the one hit he gave up the entire day. Um, but to make matters even weirder and funnier, now I mentioned there was like nobody there, so on Sundays the Pirates usually wear like their throwback uniforms. It's like it's
Yeah,
kind of
those
like how
the
yeah,
best,
it's
right?
kind of like how it's like the yellow jerseys with like they have like the black hats with like the yellow stripes on them, like
Oh,
those.
those. Okay, okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like yellow
like the
tops, black
trucker hats, right?
pants.
They call them like that or something
Yeah,
like that. The
kinda.
design.
It's kind of like a trucker hat with like, and it has like the stripes. So my friend was wearing that hat. So he was wearing that, and he was wearing like one of those like drug rug like sweatshirts, and like the like in game like host guy, like the people who host like the all like the like in between inning stuff, like like the races or like pierogi race or like the whatever the case may be, like you know like, oh, guess what hat the ball is in, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So he comes up to us and he's like, hey man, like he starts talking to my friend. He's like, hey man, like I really like your he's like, I really like your he's like, I like the hat you're wearing, and I really like your whole setup with like the sweatshirt too. He's like, I was wondering if you would want to come onto the he's like, I was wondering if you'd want to do the Super Bucko run next inning. So the Super Bucko run is it's like a Super Mario run that they do like on the screen in right field. So like usually they just have like the scoreboard there, but it's pretty like high tech, so they could do like other stuff there too. So like it'll create like a like a Super Nintendo like Mario level with like the pipes and the boxes and everything. So you had to like jump and like hit the boxes, like and they had like a real pipe like at the warning track that you had to like jump over. So he's like asking him, and my friend's like, no, I don't know. And I was like, dude, you have to do this. Like, you can't not do this. Like, are you kidding me? And then the guy was like, you could do it. Yeah, you just have to wear. The guy was like, you could do it. You just have to wear the hat while you're doing it. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, I was like, all right, well, like if you don't do it, I'm gonna do it. And then so he decides, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. So my man runs the Super Bucko run. We get like escorted down. I'm like chilling in like the little like special like area where they like escort people and shit. So I'm like chilling like this little like area, like literally like standing like inches away from the field. It was sick. And then my man does the Super Bucko run, and he gets down to the one side, but then on the way back he just falls down and eats absolute shit. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. So that you telling that story just reminded me. Your flirtations with no hitters this weekend just kind of reminded me of that. It's just like, I don't know. That was like one of the more memorable baseball games I've been to for both baseball and non-baseball things happening.
Well,
While I
ironically, I wasn't not only at a no hitter that I witnessed. I was actually at a perfect game. I
No
was
way.
at When I was 5 years old. My mom took me to the. It was the David Wells perfect game as a
You
Yankee.
were at the David Wells perfect game.
I have the Beanie Baby, not here. It's somewhere like in storage. Yeah, like
But
I
you
was
you
at
have a Beanie Baby from
that
that they
game.
gave out that get day. So you got receipts, you got evidence.
Exactly, and that was I honestly, I don't know if that I've, like, loved David Wells, like, growing up. I don't know if it was because of that or just, like, the fact that he was, like, essentially, but, like, the end of Bartolo Colon, like, I guess, like,
Yeah.
shape-wise and, like, how he pitched, but, I mean, obviously, like, he had, like, a better actually,
He
I
was
wouldn't
like
even
he
know
was
if it's,
like
like, a
second
better
to
peak
last.
because like Bartol Colon, like in his prime when he was skinny, like it was actually a monster. So like that's like it's a pretty
Yeah,
good
we might
comp. But like
yeah, we
yeah,
might have to do like a deep dive like fat David Wells years versus like fat Cologne years, and like find out who was really the better athlete.
yeah, like during the like well, Cologne had the opportunity to hit, and even though he would lose his helmet every time he would swing his bat, I did remember seeing his first ever home run on TV when it happened. It was
Oh yeah,
Gary Cohen almost lost his shit. I would
yeah.
like it was like a World Series.
That's more. That's like more memorable than some World Series. That's more memorable than the last like 2 World Series.
Well, that's the great
Or-
thing about baseball. It's like that's why no hitters now. Yeah, not as often, but they usually happen like at least like every year. But like perfect
Yeah,
games, and like that's why you got perfect games. You got like pitchers like this who are hitting home
yeah,
runs. Like those are the things that you're just like only in baseball.
yeah, yeah. I don't think there's been like a. I don't think there's been a no hitter or a perfect game yet this year, has there?
Yeah,
Usually we have.
Blanco's first start was a no hitter.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Because I picked him, I scooped him up just randomly because I'm like, he's on the Astros. Like, yeah, I need a pitcher to stream. And then I was just like,
And then
ever
he
since
threw a
then,
no hitter.
and then he gets
And
suspended
now,
for
yep.
sticky stuff.
So that one doesn't even count. So yeah, so there's yeah, no valid no hitters that happened this year.
Yeah, thank God that that him getting kicked out wasn't during when I had the no hitter.
That would have been tragic. But I guess getting back to the question at hand, so walk up song and walk in song. So my walk up song, like if I'm walking up for an at bat, uh, would probably be Mathematics by Mos Def.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I would do Mathematics by Mos Def as my walk up song. Just like that little like 10-second clip of the beat. And then my walkout song as a relief pitcher would be 96 Quite Bitter Beings by CKY.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that and then play it out because I'm not
Yeah.
familiar with it.
Did you play the Tony Hawk games when you were younger?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, it was in Tony Hawk 3. It was the Bernadette in there. It was that song.
I'm gonna have
You'll
to
you'll
give it that.
you'll know it when you hear it.
Now, when you were considering your walk up song as a batter, were you thinking like the chorus or like the beginning of the song playing?
Probably the beginning of the song.
Okay. Okay, yeah. I had so when I was at the games and I had, nothing better to do than eat and see the Mets just not hit the ball. So this question came to me. So I thought about because we thought we were getting Edwin Diaz, but like to just pitch in general, but we didn't. So for my walkout song as a closer, I I was torn, but I had to go. I think I would go with the Black Parade with My Chemical Romance because
Okay.
I'm just thinking about like you like before like I'm about to walk out of like the bullpen and like the piano's playing and then everyone kind of knows that it's like that like almost like Mr. Brightside but like you got to have that build up so like you have the
Yes,
whole
people
crowd singing
definitely.
along
Yeah.
in the beginning because everyone knows the words so like that's kind of like the build up and then when it starts like breaking down that's when you start getting the jogging and everything like that.
Yeah. No, that's a good call. Yeah, that's a good call. I just thought like I didn't even think about it that deep, honestly.
Well,
I was
you
just like,
are.
what would be a song I'd want to hear for like 2 minutes while I like come out and warm up?
Well,
That
that's the
could like
thing
get a
is
crowd hyped.
that's the thing. Like I have so many songs like that. Like one of the first ones that came to me too was "Higher" by Creed. Like just because of
Oh man,
That
yeah,
Thanksgiving Cowboys
yeah, that
halftime
was
show. Like
one of the most iconic performances in history. Truly, peak male performance was in that moment.
if I had the option of like the part where like the guy's swinging like on like the sheets, like if they could swing me from the bullpen to the mound, then I would
That'd be
absolutely choose that song.
that'd be like some Kenny Powers shit.
And then for my walk up song, this was another one this one I had more difficult with, but then I think I would go with Fleetwood Mac Dreams because
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah,
Okay.
that beginning of the song, you get the little hip thrust going in as you're walking up, like you can kind of like swaying back and forth, you know.
Yeah. So just like the opening riff of
Y-
Dreams.
exactly, yeah. So that's
I
what I
like
thought
it.
of. Yeah, it's funny too because I just got back into watching WWE, and that's like it was huge when I was growing up, and like now a lot like you always know a lot of people like from now and from the past of like their walkout songs and like what they do. So like that's that's exactly like how like I feel like I would approach it is like from a WWE standpoint. It's like what's memorable like when I would come out, like whether I was going
Yeah.
to at bat or like as a pitcher, like basically how like the trumpets are, the Sandman with Mariano Rivera. Like you
Yeah.
knew who it was when you heard
Yeah. Like the Kurt Angle song.
that. Oh dude, yeah, that's another
That
great
would be a
one.
good. That would be a good song. That would be a song I'd walk out to as a closer.
Yeah, but that like that I was thinking about like I don't know if you've watched recently, but Cody Rhodes has like a great like he has a great walkout like performance and and
No,
song because like when the crowd like sings with you, that's when you know it's like pretty
yeah, that's when you
generational.
know. Yeah, that's when you know it's lit. Like that's when you know the crowd likes you, like because they're not gonna sing along for like a villain. So that's like the crowd fucks with you, and you know that it's like a memorable song because they're like singing along with it. Even though like I guess in Kurt Angle's case, like even though he was like a bad guy, like they would have the "you sucks" in between in between like that one part, so like that's like memorable too.
Yeah, but he was like so like it's funny because like I'm also like rewatching like the old ones now because like when I was little, like you couldn't stay up late or like a lot of shit was on pay-per-view. So like rewatching him, it's like a lot of people he was a heel, but like it was because like people just like made fun of him because like he was like basically he acted like a bitch. So like everyone just like
Yeah.
enjoyed making fun of him. So that's why like you know
Yeah, he's the guy you love to hate. It's like you hate him while he's performing, but then like when he retires, it's almost like you're kind of sad to see him go.
it's almost like Brady-esque. Like it's
Yeah.
hard for Jets fans because like we hate him as a Patriot, but like for other teams, like you would just like yeah, like you would hate Brady because
Yeah.
it was fun to hate Brady.
Yeah, and it's just like it's like annoying how like post Patriots, like both him and Belichick have become like more like likable and like more personable.
Yeah, exactly, and it's because like who the hell
Like
knows what was going on in New England.
yeah, like I don't know, and even saying that like disgusts me. But yeah, it almost sounds like Robert Kraft was the problem, which he probably is and was a problem. But yeah, I don't want to go too far off the rails with that.
Yeah, but if we are, and we'll cap off, the Mets were able to, salvage the weekend series with the Braves with a walk off on Sunday Night Baseball with Brandon Nimmo. I don't, I think I was changing back and forth between them and the Rangers. And it was like I changed, and all of a sudden, like I got like the Bleacher Report. It was like Mets win. And I was just like, what the fuck? As soon as I change it, like they start they hit a home run. But dude, I can't get over how tough it is to watch Sunday Night Baseball. Like I mean I listen to the Michael K show on during the week. I like him as a as a ESPN
Radio
radio
guy.
host. Yeah, see, like he's like very monotone in baseball, but like he's very personable when it comes to the radio broadcast. But like, dude, I'd rather listen to him and A Rod than like Salvatore Perez, David Cohn, and Boosh Shambi. Like, dude, they like brought up like they were like we have this they like want to bring like everything analytics like shit that makes no sense. Like they brought up like a screen and was like they're able to like see who has the fastest swing in baseball. And of course, Soto, Stanton, Schwarber, Morel, like all
O'Neal
power
Cruz
hits.
has got to be up there too.
Yeah, Cruz, yeah, O'Neill Cruz and Ellie De La Cruz are both on there. And It's all power hitters, and like it's like yeah, no shit. Like they have the fastest bat speeds because they hit for power, so they kind of just like go all out every time they swing. And they literally send the broadcast like, well, this doesn't like correlate to like being a great hitter. And it's like, no shit, dude. Like, look at Ichiro, Tony Gwynn, Ricky Henderson, like all the best hitters like ever. I mean, like even Barry Bonds prior to steroids, like it was like about like back control and like slapping the ball where it is. Like, of course, bat speed like leans towards home run hitters. Like, I don't know why they brought it up. They were just like, here's this new stat, but it doesn't correlate to it actually like being anything. And I was just like, you just wasted like I have to listen to you like while watching the
Yeah.
Mets suck.
Yeah, it's like it makes the I know what you mean. It always makes the experience worse, and like, of course, because it's like ESPN and like a national broadcast, they're gonna like get their little like jabs at the Mets in, like their little LOL Mets jokes, and they're gonna talk about a bunch of shit that like doesn't matter for like 5 minutes for like the whole inning. And I actually, generally speaking, kind of like Sunday Night Baseball and the ESPN like broadcast. I just think the broadcasters suck.
Yeah.
I think the biggest mistake they made was like it was at its best when they had when Matt Vasgersian was like the play-by-play guy. They made a
Dude,
mistake
him,
letting him go.
who was it too? Harold Reynolds, right? He was good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that
Harold Reynolds
crew.
is
I
great,
used to love them. I think
and
who was the old Phillies hitter?
uh,
Tim Tim something. He was. Oh no, what is something Buck, right? He was like a
yeah,
big hefty guy or something like that.
I feel like I know who you're talking about. And then they had Joe Morgan too, way back when.
Phillies first baseman. I gotta look this up because it's gonna bother me. Broadcaster. Uh, John Kruk. There you go.
John Kruk.
Yes. Yeah, I remember because they were just like baseball dudes. So like I mean, like Perez and Cone both played, but like they're like, yeah, especially
It's
to
like you could be a baseball guy, but it has to you could be a baseball guy, but like it has to translate to like announcing. Like, I don't know, David Cohn's a great baseball guy, but he just, I don't know, I just don't think he has like a good voice for TV. Because
there's
even
just
like,
no
when I'm
juice either.
listening
Yeah,
to like like when I'm listening, like whether it's the ESPN games, or I mean, he's on the Yes Network, so he's on like all the Yankees like home games, all the Yankees like regular games or whatever. Uh, it can be like whenever he starts talking, I'm just kind of like, I just kind of tune out whatever he's saying, because like I just don't really like his voice. It's just not really, it's just not really for TV. And like you said, it's not really, it's just kind of monotone and just not that juicy. And, it's just not, I don't know. It's just, I don't fuck with it.
yeah, and clearly that was a common theme. It seemed like the Mets weren't fucking with it for the first 8 9 innings either. they were
No.
and then I think they just eventually they
Yeah,
were
they
just like,
weren't
all right,
fucking with much of anything.
yeah, let's just get out of here. But so that was them for the weekend. So let's turn it over to a team that's been doing the fucking, which is the new Aaron Judge led New York Yankees, and how they end up doing this weekend. I just heard recently, and then I think our boy Kev from the Discord and from the MI Pod put out like I think like since he's been in the league, he's been like at a all time like elite peak when it comes to like OPS and like as a power hitter and everything like that. So sounds like the Yankees continue to roll over the weekend.
They did, yeah. I think since the last time we recorded, I think they've only dropped like 2 games. Like they dropped the game to the Astros the next day. Then uh, they took 2 out of 3. They took 2 out of 3 against the Rays. Now they're just coming off of sweeping the Twins. Aaron Judge has awakened in a big way, and I mean, like it was at a point like a week or so ago where like it was like a week, probably like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, where like I was like before we recorded the last episode where I was like, oh, if we're doing the who's not segment, like I might have to actually think about like putting Aaron Judge on it. Because it's getting to a point where like it has to be like acknowledged. But then like since then he just like I couldn't tell you what the exact numbers are, but since then he's just woken up and like he's just woken the fuck up in like such a big way. Like he's now he's now up to because I think he was batting like pretty much in like the 100s, but he's now up to 11 home runs in the year. Feels like he hit like half of those like within the last week or so. I think yesterday he went like 3 for 3 or 4 for 4, uh, and then he continued he continued to play well, today as well. So yeah, he's just on a he's just on a huge he's just on an insane tear. It was anyone that thought that he wasn't going to start to anyone who thought that he wasn't going to start to hit, you were foolish for thinking that.
You're a
Um,
damn fool.
like yeah, it was concerning, and it definitely got to a point where it definitely got to a point where it's like, all right, like when's he gonna wake up? Like it's May now, but pretty much right when the calendar flipped, he woke up. Soto's also just been like very consistently good. I believe he passed Mickey Mantle in
Oh
like
shit!
walks. Uh,
Already? Holy shit!
or not like all time, but I think he has more walks than I saw a post about it, but he has more walks now than like Mickey Mantle did like at this point in his career. I'm trying to find the
So
trying to
while you
find.
find
But yeah,
that, I looked up
also
Judge and
yeah, it's pretty
over the
much since he got ejected.
since Judge got ejected.
Yeah, so, yeah, he got ejected. I think we were talking about it on the show last week, but yeah, since his ejection, he's been like 10 for 28 plus today, which he went 2 for 3 today, so he's like 12 for his last 31, with 3 doubles, 4 home runs, 7 walks, and a 1393 OPS.
Dude, that's absolutely insane. I was literally just looking him up because one of my leagues has like a detailed batting, and just over the last 2 weeks alone, he has a 1.489 OPS, five home runs, 17 hits. Like that's absolutely like he's a madman right now. Just after, like you said, like I guess we can't say that it was him being ejected, but I think at the same time, like you know, I think he knows being in New York. The people started questioning him in the beginning of the year, especially after he said, that this injury when it comes to his toe,
He's going to
is
be dealing with it like the rest
yeah
of
for
his
the
life basically.
exactly, but you can't teach the swing that he has. The hand-eye
No.
coordination I always say is one of the toughest things in baseball. You take as many steroids as you want. You can train for anything, but when it comes to pitch recognition and hand-eye coordination, that's how you succeed as a baseball player. And when you have that, along with the absolute mammoth of a man and power that Judge has, it's pretty. We're people don't realize how special we are in a time right now with certain players, and he's definitely one of them. And it's kind of, going back to ESPN, I think they do such a shitty job of covering baseball. And like, there's the MLB network, but the only people who are going to go towards that are, diehard baseball fans. But like, right
Yeah,
now,
plus like
the Yankees
you
should be all over ESPN because they have
yeah.
two of probably the top five players in baseball, and it's not talked about enough of how like elite, they're both performing at.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, hopefully, they keep this up. I'm sure ESPN will give them their flowers, but they're probably just waiting for they're probably just waiting for basketball to be over. That's just kind of the way it goes. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure if they're still both performing like at this level come like, end of June or July, like at that point, ESPN will be forced to talk about it because like there's really going to be no bigger story or anything else really going on in the sports world at that point. But yeah, and then I looked it up. So yeah, so Juan Soto passed Mickey Mantle for most walks before turning 26 with 669, which I'm sure that was
Nice.
2 days ago. So I'm sure he's probably gotten a few more since then too. So yeah, Juan Soto, very good at baseball. Also came out today that some good news came out today. Might not be great news for the Mets, but some news came out today that Hal Steinbrenner is open to he's open to opening up contract negotiations with Juan Soto like during the season. I say give him the bag as soon as you can, give him as much money as he wants. Like that's someone who, I was cool with the move as a rental, but I think it's someone that I think that the Yankees are quickly realizing like just like how much of an impact that like someone like that can have on your franchise. Because I mean, Judge couldn't do it by himself, and they tried, they tried to bring in a lot of people to, try and supplement Judge in the lineup. Like that was kind of like their plan with Stanton, you know, worked at first, but he kind of fell off a cliff and couldn't stay healthy. Judge also has his injury concerns. Knock on wood that he's staying healthy. That he stays healthy for now. But you had those concerns as well, and then they bring in Rizzo to try and be like to try and provide like some protection in the lineup. But like Soto is just like on such a he's just such on such a different level, and like he clearly, he definitely is like cut from the same cloth as Judge too, like in the sense not just in the sense of just being like incredible ball players, but also like knowing how to handle knowing how to handle like New York, handle the media and all that jazz and everything. Because I mean, like I thought the way Judge was handling his April slump was like exactly how you want someone like in this market to handle that sort of thing. Like he's like because of course the media is asking him. I personally thought that it was like stupid for people to boo Aaron Judge, but it comes with the territory, and he knows that, and that's pretty much how he responded. He's like, "Oh yeah, like I'd be booing me too." Like, I just know that that's part of it. So he's like, "It's up to me to make it stop." So and it seems that Soto like understands, like what it means to be a Yankee, what it means to play in New York, and it doesn't seem to phase him at all. So I'd say, and just having like, and especially because like the Yankees, like at least last year, they were like so undisciplined at the plate, and I feel like Soto's plate discipline is almost I'd almost would like to do like a study or a deep dive on
It's
this. Like,
infectious.
yeah, to see like how contagious his plate discipline is. 'Cause I feel like it's kind of spread through like the rest of the lineup, where like everyone else has like gotten smarter about like what they're swinging at and what they're looking at. Volpe I think could still use like a little bit of work on that. He kind of swings at whatever the fuck sometimes, but other than that, like it seems like a much more disciplined lineup. So like, yeah, I think they realize like how impactful a guy like Soto is. I mean, if he's smart, he probably waits till he hits free agency to really maximize his paycheck. Unless the Yankees like absolutely like blow him out of the water with something like before then. But yeah, so hopefully the Yankees can get that get that get the bag secured for Soto, and that way we don't have to like sweat anything out in free agency. But yeah, that's someone who I think they're realizing now. It's like, all right, like you got this guy in the door, but like you cannot let this type of player leave. Like and especially to the Mets. I mean, like no offense, but like for the Yankees to like like for the Yankees to like lose a player like that and like for him to go to the Mets, like that would like kind of be unprecedented. And that's like kind of just something they cannot allow to happen.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a year where both the Yankees and the Mets both have a top, well, Yankees top, probably top player in baseball. The Mets, one of the top power hitters in baseball, both represented by Scott Boras. Uh, Different trajectories at this moment. One entering their prime, the other one, maybe in the middle of it, maybe not at least getting to the back of his baseball card when it comes to Pete in this season. But Boris said, with all of his clients, he's never going to sign in season because there's more leverage in the off season,
Of
especially when it
course.
comes to using teams such as the Mets. I mean, I would get juiced up and would love to see a bidding war between Cohen and Steinbrenner. But I remember an interesting thing when Cohen first came into ownership, and I think he mentioned that like he wasn't really going to like step on people's toes. And I think they actually asked him this in regards to like Aaron Judge. So like the Mets never showed interest or like had any offer going out to Judge. So I didn't know. I don't know if that same respect is going to happen with Juan Soto because Soto's only been here for 1 year, and also like it's completely different. Like
Yeah.
Judges 30, like 30. Soto's about to be 24, 25.
26.
So like that's like
Yeah.
your prime cornerstone of a player. So that's going to be really interesting if especially if Pete keeps you know hitting subpar for this
Yeah.
season. It's going to make it such an easier decision that I can see Cohen going all out um, for Soto. And I mean, like, I wouldn't be mad as long as he doesn't go to the Braves or Dodgers because that's
Right.
I'd rather Soto stay on the East Coast with in the AL than be on one of the rival in the NL teams. But
Yeah, yeah, the Braves or the Phillies, that would be like a pretty bad blow.
that's just
Yeah, I
like
mean,
Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, like perfect
yeah,
examples of just getting screwed
yeah.
over there. But
Bryce Harper and Juan Soto reuniting. I hope I'm not speaking this into
it's
existence.
crazy that the Nationals team won without Bryce Harper, and then
Yeah,
the fact that that whole core did not win multiple World Series like goes to show you that there is a lot more that goes into baseball than just like the
yeah,
talent itself, for sure.
yeah. Well, they pretty much as soon as the Nationals won that World Series, they
Oh,
pretty
they said,
much
"Fuck this, it's over."
yeah, they pretty much disbanded the team. But yeah, I mean, it definitely does make you wonder like how they didn't win more like when they had Soto and Harper. But it was probably like a matter of like Soto was like just starting to like really
He's
like
like
enter his
22
prime
years
at that
old and
time.
like
Yeah, he was like 20 and like hitting home runs in the World Series. Like dude hasn't
absolutely
even like
insane.
drank a legal beer yet in his life, and he's doing this on he's hitting balls like into space in Houston in the World Series. But yeah, and then they just kind of decided the Nationals are like the ultimate like they're like the actual version of like that tweet where it's like, oh, would you give up like your losing your whole team like to win one championship kind
Oh
of like
yeah.
they're like the actual embodiment of that. But yeah, I mean, it could get a bidding war with Juan Soto in New York. I mean, that could be, that could definitely be interesting. And I mean, I get what you're saying. I personally wouldn't think that the same respect would apply, like the same respect that they like gave when it came to Aaron Judge. Like, and I don't, nor do I necessarily think it should. But like I don't know. To me, Soto is a Yankee, and he needs to be a Yankee. Like they just like the Mets should by all means, if he hits free agency, which I'm sure he will. Like I'm sure the Yankees and him will have talks. I don't know if it'll necessarily amount to anything, but like you know, and the Mets by all means, if he hits free agency, the Mets by all means should like bring the full court press and do what they have to do to try and get him, but the Yankees just cannot like that's like one person they just cannot allow like to be themselves to be like outbid on or anything. Like they can't get outbid on him. They can't they can't let him out the door one way or the other. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, I wouldn't fault the Mets for doing what they could to bring him home. And I mean, if that does happen, then it's like, ultimately we have no one to blame but ourselves. But yeah, speaking of Steve Cohen, I did want to ask you about that. I did want to ask you, and I know we have another topic of discussion involving Juan Soto, but I did want to ask you as far as Steve Cohen goes. So that deleted tweet, uh, he was what? He was like some like Mets like blog page or podcasting page or something was like, oh, we got to blow this up or something, and then he responded to it and was like, oh yeah, all in the future, there's nothing we can do until the deadline, and then like he like deleted the tweet.
Yeah, so apparently, he was
He
supposed
should have
to like
responded to our podcast.
he should have. So we should probably start asking him some questions. But
Yeah.
apparently, he was supposed to direct message that, and I guess as he definitely tweets on his own. He's someone who doesn't have like someone else do his tweeting like Woody
Yeah.
Johnson per se. Uh, so he said that he was supposed to do his direct message, but
I
it
mean, I
isn't.
kind of think Woody's doing his own thing too.
It could be. It's depending on the vibe that's coming out. Like the
Yeah.
videos definitely aren't Woody, but like when it's normal
Oh yeah, he
tweets,
doesn't know how to make videos, but yeah, like
yeah,
like that normal tweet where he blasted like remember when like they're at the owners meetings and like that one reporter was like, oh, he at dinner him and Robert Saleh were yelling at each other, and then he was like, yeah, no, that like, please disregard, that's just like another false report.
that
That was
clearly
definitely him. And I think
easily,
like I feel like he writes the tweets like for like the uniform combos, and then like because
yeah,
the man loves his uniforms. I feel
that
like he writes all those tweets, and then like he'll have like the media guy like add the video or the picture or whatever.
just to chime in quickly because I have the Mets and Phillies on the background here. The Mets blew the lead, shocker. They were down 3-2, but top eight with a man on second, third, first and second, um, two outs. Harrison Bader up. Bader hits a liner back to the reliever, hits him on the back, goes into the outfield. Mets tie the game. And now with Marte up, this reliever just dirted a ball, and Pete steals home, and now the Mets are up 4-3.
Uh,
So again, not the generic way of producing runs, but I guess at this point you got to do what you got to do. But
you gotta take him any way you can get him.
exactly. But going back to Cohen's tweet, it's interesting because immediately everyone just generally thinks that like, oh, we can't like we're just looking to the trade deadline and we're going to sell. Then don't worry, like that's you. But what I think is the first he separates it on purposely, with punctuation, like so it's all in the future. So that means like there's nothing to do now as far as selling players, not only selling players, but like buying players as well. Like
Yeah, there's just
yesterday,
no market for anything. Is what
yesterday they were still only somehow one game back in the wild card for the last wild card spot. So like you still have to see where this team is at the trade deadline. So that's why he's saying that there's nothing to do until we get to the trade deadline and see where we are in the standings
yeah.
perspective in the team. You know, like we
Yeah,
said,
like there's still at least another 50 games before you're like
ex-
making like that type of decision.
exactly, and like we said when we first started this podcast, like the Mets, what we expected was them to compete for a wild card spot, and that this is the transition
And
year
hover
before the
around
money
500.
and the money's going to come off the books. So as you like, they signed a bunch of 1 year guys, Bader, Tyrone Taylor, JD Martinez, Severino. So when say
Yeah.
you're falling further behind at the trade deadline, they they did they first tried to compete by signing all these players, respectable veterans or guys coming off injury bounce back years. So they did try to compete because the whole thing comes down to Nimmo, Lindor, um, you know, Alvarez, who hasn't played because of injury, and Pete. So that's your core, and you supplement it with savvy veterans. And if you're failing to meet that competitive expectation, then you could sell those guys and get some prospects back at the deadline. So a lot of people were taking as they were giving it up, but say they are hovering around the deadline, they have enough in their farm system at the moment to kind of like supplement the team and kind of, you know, get the edges of the roster more, standing pat. If it's that what he's basically saying is that the future is going to the future only knows where this team's going to go, not today. And it's
Yeah,
too early in baseball. That's why,
basically,
yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
because it seemed like, yeah, like from reading the tweet at like face value, it kind of seemed like maybe he was playing his hand and saying like, "Oh yeah, we're going to be sellers at the deadline," which is not the type of proclamation you want to be making, on May 15th.
And is
Uh,
he really going to do that even if it was a direct message? Is he
yeah,
really going to direct message
it's
the
like,
podcast and say,
yeah, is he
"Yeah, we're
really gonna,
sellers"?
yeah, direct message like, yeah, mesmerized or whatever, and be like, yeah, Mets magazine, and be like, yeah, giving you this inside scoop. We're gonna be selling the farm or whatever, or we're gonna be acquiring the farm and selling some players or whatever the case may be. Uh, yeah, like I don't know, like he seems like a pretty, unlike Woody. Steve Cohen actually seems like a pretty smart guy who like knows what he's doing. I mean, outside of baseball, he obviously has built a pretty, pretty nice amount of money for himself and for his family. And you don't do that by being stupid most of the time. So I think he knows like the optics of like running a business and a company. So I think he'd be smarter than to just play your hand. And my initial thought was like, man, like these owners just gotta like get off social media. Like, just what good comes from like Woody Johnson or Steve Cohen tweeting or posting whatever. And but then, now that I'm thinking about it, like, yeah, he what he was really saying was like, I guess what he was really trying to say is that like we have at least, we have 2 more months, we have at least like 50, 60 games of baseball before we're even deciding like what direction we're going to go in with this team. I think that's like what he was really saying. He just it was like worded poorly, and it made it seem like, yeah, we're just gonna, and it made it seem like, oh yeah, we're just gonna sell, but like we just aren't doing it now.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying like the tweet was twofold because you're also not trading for anyone right now unless like the Marlins want to give you all their players. Like they essentially are like begging teams to take
Yeah, I
to
mean,
take their players, but that's just not real. You're realistically not making a trade for a substantial piece for a contending team right now in baseball. It's just
yeah,
not
exactly.
happening because
Yeah, and I
everyone would
mean,
do it then.
yeah, exactly. You just see a lot more, you'd see a lot more trades like, at this time of year, and not just like kind of like whatever ass trades, because I mean there are some like minor transactions like that go on, but nothing really substantial. Like the Luis Arias thing was like kind of almost unprecedented. Like
Yeah,
I can't really remember a time a guy, that a team threw in the towel like a month in, and traded their best player like at the beginning of May. That doesn't really happen. Usually teams like to decide, and I mean I doubt that teams like to take their time to make those decisions. Um, and I mean I doubt that like I doubt that the Marlins would necessarily want to, make that trade within the division, and definitely not now. Like I mean, it's not unheard of for like teams like in division to trade with or do business with each other. I mean, shit, even the Yankees and Red Sox, I think, made a trade like fairly recently. But like I know like the Yankees have made like a lot of trades with like the Blue Jays in the past. So like those types of trades in division can happen, but like it's not happening at the beginning of May. Like, and like even then, I mean, like I guess like who would you want from the Marlins? Like Tanner Scott? Like I can't really think of anyone else that's like
I'm
really
pretty sure
worth
I was
trading for.
looking at him because I think sometimes he's the opener for them, unless they have a different Scott. but like one of the Scots on their team has like a 5 or 6 ERA, and it may be him.
Yeah,
But
so yeah, there's really no one. Yes, I mean, there's really like it's slim pickings as it is. So I mean, yeah, it's definitely something that's scary. You're gonna have to,
oh,
you're
never mind.
kind of
He's
gonna
having
have
a
to,
good year.
yeah, like you're gonna have to wait and see like where the teams are at that point. Before any type of before any of those types of decisions can like even be like before you can even really begin to have like the conversation. Like I feel like you don't even really start talking about like, okay, are we buying or are we selling until like maybe mid to late June. Maybe that's when you start to kind of think about it and be like, all right, and then they always say like that those like that last week of July, like those like that 5 to 10 game period,
Everything.
like right after the All-Star break is like can like kind of make or break seasons because like that's kind of the time where like those decisions are made as to whether or not you buy or sell. Like you could go on like a winning streak and maybe you were planning on selling, but then all of a sudden you're buyers.
Yeah,
And like
and
the Mets are definitely like very much that type of team, it seems. Like they're in that boat.
yeah, especially too because like when Alvarez was playing in the beginning of the year, JD Martinez wasn't up. Now JD Martinez is here, Francisco Alvarez is hurt. So you haven't seen the lineup as a whole play together. And then at the same time, your ace Senga hasn't pitched at all for you this season. And then Scott just came up and he's going to be on his third start. So that's what you're saying.
Right.
Like that time, like the Mets have been awful. Like the lineup top to bottom has been awful all year consistency wise. So who knows, like just how baseball is? Who says that, like you said, they can't get hot because they have, the type of players and they have the core of a team to go get really hot, like players that can carry your offense. So that can happen. It's just like, when is it going to happen? Is it going to be when it's too late, or is it going to be perfect timing where you can convince management? Because management doesn't want to sell; they want to compete all the time. Like so
Yeah.
they're gonna
It's
be like,
better
give
for
us a
business.
reason to not sell at the deadline. So that onus goes on to the players and the coaching staff because you know uh, you think like not many people realize this, but like a lot of players don't want to, especially in baseball, they don't want to like move mid-season. Like they just move their family over to whatever you know town they're in, or city that they're in. They don't want to be doing that, going hotel hopping for the rest of the season. They'd rather stay where they are and compete than get traded. So like these guys are all going to have incentives to like compete and win day in and day out. So that that's what I think that Cohen was leaning towards when he was answering with that tweet.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a win-win for everyone. But yeah, that's probably like where he was going. It was just like very vaguely worded, and he probably just
He's
you
an
know
old man
he
tweeting,
clearly
like,
just yeah he clearly just said a little he clearly just said a little too much without really saying anything. And then it's Twitter, so whatever you say is gonna get dissected and blown out of proportion. And and screenshots are forever, so you can't you just you might think you're in the DMs, but you're tweeting, and you have like a whole situation like that. Or like you think you're tweeting from your burner, but it's your real account, or vice versa. So yeah, hopefully he learns his lesson and just refrains from he really just shouldn't be responding to like fan pages.
yeah, I think he gets a little
He gets a little
butthurt
too yeah,
sometimes.
a little too
Yeah,
chatty. Yeah. Yeah, he does get a little butthurt. Like he told Frank Fleming like, "Oh yeah, you got to start being nice to us or something."
yeah. I mean, well, that guy is he's a sociopath. Like when it comes to being a Mets fan. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, I've seen him be sassy to people in the responses before. Definitely for sure when the Mets are getting criticized for exactly for what they are, and
What
that's
they
been a
deserve
losing
to get
baseball team.
criticized for. Yeah.
Exactly. But on the on the flip side, you were mentioning Soto, so we're going to go from talking about losing baseball teams back to winning, and specifically, if you were to be building a winning baseball team, and so this question was posed from our boy Stefan on Friday when we were at the game. Obviously, seeing Acuna hit a bomb. Um, if you were, to start a team, and I guess this would obviously be based on who you think is, the better player. And he said, who would you choose between, uh, Ronald Acuna and Juan Soto? And at that time, I couldn't come up with, a quick answer, just because, Acuna I just got salty, him just hitting a bomb, and then Soto having great success on the Yankees this season so far. But it does pose an interesting question. And before I ask you, we're going to lay the foundation down is that contract is not involved because obviously the Braves have some voodoo magic when it comes to signing their players, and
Yeah, it's not.
Juan
This
Soto is
isn't
going to
like.
break a $500 million mark.
Yeah, this isn't like this isn't like a situation where it's like, oh, would you rather have Acuna for 8 years at $100 million or Soto for 10 and 500? It's
Exactly.
just
This
like
is like
which
you're going to
player you'd
offer
rather
both of
have,
them the same thing. Yeah,
and you assume either one is going to get a well-deserved $500 million.
exactly.
Yeah. Um yeah, it's tough. I mean, so I got both of their so I have both of their baseball references pulled up. Um Now, not that WAR is the end all be all as far as stats go, but Juan Soto does have a higher career WAR than Ronald Acuna Jr. He's also a little bit younger. He's currently 25 years old. Acuna is 26. So Acuna is 26 and 150 days old. Juan Soto's 25 and 204 days. So he's not like a full year older than Soto, but you know, if you round it up, give or take, he's about a year older than Soto. Uh, so Soto has a higher career WAR. Um, and he has more home runs in his career. Acuna is obviously Acuna is faster, and he is a much better defender than Soto. He has a better arm than Soto. So those are things you have to factor in too.
Of course.
But for me, I think that and you also have to consider that you're you're starting this play, you're starting a team with this player like from this point forward. So I would say that I would go with Juan Soto because I think that the numbers he has so far, you know, are slightly, overall, I'd say his numbers are slightly better than Acuna's. And that I would also say that he has a higher ceiling for the future and that he's a year younger. Acuna, I don't think Soto's ever really been like seriously injured. I know Acuna has had his years with where he's dealt with injuries.
Yeah,
So
his
that's
knees
like,
a couple of
yeah,
times.
he had the knee problem. So that's definitely definitely a thing with him too. Um, but yeah, but also like dude had what 40 home runs and 70 steals last year. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't go wrong with either. Both would be like cornerstone franchise players, and like there's really no downside to having either player on your team. But for me, I would start my team with Juan Soto.
Yeah, I was mentioning too. I was like, well, we have baby Acuna, so hopefully he's at least like if he's like 20% of his brother, I was like, we'll
That'd be a
take
pretty damn that'd be a pretty damn good ball player. You know,
exactly. But I think so. I think it's all about preference. So, like for example, like you know, Acuna has speed. You're batting him to lead off your team. He kind of has that electricity around the base path. So if you value like speed more on your team compared to like you know the I guess the new
Power.
analytical when it comes to like power or getting on base, that's going to be the difference. And I think that coupled with obviously we're going to keep them for the future. So not only injury wise, but how does their game transition in the future? And so, for example, you know, Ronald Acuna is not going to be able to steal as many bases when he gets older. He is a free swinger, so he's more likely going to, hit the piss out of the ball harder than Juan Soto just because of how much of a free swinger he is. Juan Soto's more patient, where fans get upset with him to a fault because he takes too many pitches and he won't swing at anything in the strike zone. So
Yeah, which just makes no sense. Like, if nothing else, too, it's like you're working the opposing pitcher's pitch count up, and it's like there's nothing
exactly.
wrong with that. It's like, yeah. Anyway,
And
go
there's
on.
nothing worse, and I think it happened the other day against the Phillies, where literally it was yesterday. The Mets literally had a three pitch inning. Like they went down in three pitches in the inning because they are just free swinging with no plan up there. And I think I too would take Juan Soto because I think his game will age gracefully because he gets on base. He has a great eye. You can't teach having a
Yeah,
great eye.
yeah. That's not something that necessarily, that's not necessarily something that's gonna like go with age. And I would say as long as Soto plays healthy, he could probably play for longer than Acuna too.
Yeah, and then he always gets on base. So if you still want that speed element, you can kind of supplement that around him, and then you kind of have him like basically like where he is, like in his spot with the Yankees. But like he if you're building a team and it's like, okay, who is that one hitter? I think you'll be more successful with it being Soto compared to like Acuna for a long term. Like Acuna always has like the Freddie Freemans, the Matt Olsons, and like Azuna is the guy this year. Like even though Acuna is MVP, you know type of player, I just think like the consistency of Soto is what I would take over Acuna. I mean, there's like we said, there's no wrong answer. It's all about preference. I think the preference is about the reliability and like not the streakiness that comes with one player compared to another.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's a good point. That like how you're building your team, also would factor into that. Because yeah, if you want like if you want to build a team that's gonna like be aggressive on the base pass and just be aggressive in general, then yeah, Acuna might be a better fit for that type of team. Like, if you want to be like if you want to have like a team that's like the 2014 that's what speed do Royals, but like with someone that's actually like way more legitimate like Acuna, then that would be the way to go. Whereas if you are trying to just build a team where get on base and hit nukes and uh and wear opposing pitchers down with your plate discipline, then Juan Soto's the guy. Which but yeah, to me, I think the tiebreaker is, I think the tiebreaker in favor of Soto is just the fact that, um, you know, better numbers to this point, and he seems to have a higher ceiling for the future, and also the fact that like you had mentioned, his the way he plays will probably age a little bit better than Acuna. Like, Acuna when he's like 40, and when he's in his like late 30s or gets to like 40, there's probably going to be a pretty steady decline there. But Soto, I'm sure all players they deteriorate over time, their skills. Like, obviously, I don't expect Juan Soto at 35 to be Juan Soto at 25 by any means, but I feel like he'll still like be able to be like, if he's healthy enough to have that long of a career, God willing, then at that point, he would his career would probably age a lot better.
Yeah, what's ironic too is I think about it. If you switched Acuna and Soto from the Yankees to the Braves and vice versa. I don't think either team is better with the other. Like I actually think they're on the perfect teams for one another
Yeah,
when it comes from a building standpoint.
yeah. Like I feel like if we had Acuna on our team, yeah, I don't know if we'd be better. I don't know if we'd be worse. It's kind of hard to it's hard to really say one way or the other if we'd be better or worse with if we had Acuna instead of Soto. I mean, now I'm just doing like a fun little exercise, but I guess like you kick Judge back out to right, and then you have Acuna in center and
But he
Verdugo in
doesn't play
left.
center for the Braves now. But I guess
Not anymore. Oh yeah, it's Michael Harris is their center fielder.
yeah, but I guess that's the luxury that they have.
Yeah, he used to play center though, didn't he?
You did. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, and like yeah, he would definitely be like the center fielder over Judge if he was on our team.
Oh, for
And
sure. Anything to
then like
lace
you
up
could
and
have
Judge.
like, you'd have like a pretty nice you would have a pretty nice like you could have that would take some pressure off of Volpe too if we had
Mhm.
Acuna cuz like pretty much like I feel like so Volpe opened the season up on a tear and he was hitting like 6th or 7th, and then they moved him to lead off, and I think it kind of fucked with him for a little bit. He's picked it back up, but like there
That's the
was a
second year
time
in a
where
row. I feel like they did that.
yeah, there was a time where there was a time where he was like kind of slumping when they switched him to lead off, and everyone was kind of like, "Oh, like why did you fix what was, why did you fix something that was working perfectly fine?" Um and I get why they did it. It's because you want someone like that to have more at bats and to like set the tone for the game. But yeah, it just didn't work out that way at first. But I mean, yeah, like if you had Acuna, then you could bat him lead off, and then you could bat Judge second, and that would take some pressure off of Volpe. But this is just like a world of hypotheticals. But yeah, and like plenty of people have before we got Volpe. But I feel like a lot of people complained about the Yankees not really being like a very good like base running team, and
He's like
I
their
mean,
speed element. Him and Cabrera are like their only speed elements.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, Acuna would definitely add something to that, but I still think that, I think especially you also have to consider that, you're playing half of your game, the stadium you're playing half of your games in. Uh, Not that I have any doubts of Acuna's abilities to, hit nukes in any ballpark, but, Juan Soto, he's just like tailor made for Yankee Stadium with the short porch and everything too. So and I think that the way you build a team like playing in that stadium is more catered to just getting on base and hitting piss missiles to right field versus necessarily being like a jack of all trades like Acuna.
Yeah, and I was thinking of it from a Braves perspective. Like if they if Soto was there, then you kind of have like Olson and Soto kind of like having multiple of like the same, almost the same type of player, but like,
That's kind yeah, that
but
would be insane.
exactly. But then you lose that speed element top of the batting. I guess you could put like maybe like Albies or Michael Harris as the leadoff guy, but like,
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
lead off
yeah,
Michael Harris. Yeah, I would Michael Harris, is he a switch hitter? Is he a lefty or a righty?
I think he's a lefty.
Yeah,
No, 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 no. He's a switch hitter. Albies is the lefty.
that's right. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then yeah, so you could start like you could lead off with Michael Harris, then you could have like then you could have like then you could have Austin Riley bat or yeah, you could you could lead off with him and then have like Soto hit second and then you have Austin Riley third and then you have Matt Olson in your cleanup. That's a pretty insane like top half of your lineup.
Now thinking about it, it kind of is. It would be like having like like Freddie Freeman back again. That's like
Yeah.
a good comp. I'm actually surprised that like Soto hasn't been floated with leading off more. I mean, like one of the reasons that Brandon Nimmo leads off. I mean, he does have good speed for the Mets, but it would be like him.
Just
He probably
purely
takes
from an
the
on base standpoint.
Yep, he takes the most pitches and all of that. So that especially like when you play at Yankee Stadium, like Yeah, the Yankees don't run really, you say. So like, why not have sometimes Soto lead off just because he just always gets on base. Like you said,
Yeah,
having him and Judge go 1-2 would be pretty. That'd be
yeah,
pretty pretty
that would be pretty
scary,
dope.
scary sight for a pitcher to start a game with.
Yeah. I think the way they have it set up now though, like with I think the way they have it with, Soto in the 2 spot and Judge at 3, I think that's also like perfectly fine though. But yeah, it is an interesting point, to have him lead off because I mean, aside from Volpe, most of like the guys they've relied on to be like the leadoff hitters, really weren't speed guys. Like our leadoff hitter for years was DJ LeMahieu, uh,
Exactly,
and
because he
he
gets on base.
yeah,
Well, he did
he
for one
used to
season.
get on base. Now he just kills insects with his ground balls, and well, really, he doesn't even do that anymore. Now he's just doing nothing. He's just
Him and Jeff McNeil
a
probably have like the
non-factor.
worst aged contracts like since they've been signed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know the DJ one has not aged well. They say the Giancarlo Stanton contract has not aged well, and it hasn't. But
At least he can still hit bombs though.
yeah,
Like
he could still hit bombs. I mean, he is making a fuck ton more money than DJ, but like, he's at least still good at like, he could at least still do the main thing that you were expecting out of him, when you signed him, when he's healthy, of course.
yeah, McNeil and DJ are like now like if they don't hit like 300, they're like absolutely useless. They might as well just be like bench players for depth because yeah, they can play multiple defensive positions, but like if you can't hit, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And as Diaz blows another save, that's fun.
Lovely.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that's good stuff. So let's wrap it up by giving a little preview of this weekend's matchups. If you want to give us your quick thoughts on the look ahead for the Yankees.
Yeah, sure. Let me check and see who we're playing real quick. That would probably help.
Oh, the Rangers are up 4-3.
Yeah, they like just scored a goal to take the lead. Oh yeah, so the that's who we're playing. That's why I forgot who we were playing because the lowly Chicago White Sox are coming to town.
Ah,
Um man, you're really gonna have to force some content out of me now because I don't even know what to say about this team other than the fact that they are complete and utter dog shit. This team is just so bad. I know I usually say take 2 out of 3 and you'll be fine, and everyone will be happy. But for this weekend series, honestly, we should sweep them. There's no reason we shouldn't be able to sweep them. I mean, if you take 2 out of 3, that's not the end of the world either. But this is a series where you should really sweep them. So tomorrow's matchup, we'll have Mike Clevenger versus Nestor Cortez in a matchup of perhaps two of the most unpleasant pitchers to like watch from a mechanics standpoint. Um, you'll have Nestor with his doing his little leg kicks and all that jazz that he likes to do to mess with people's timing or whatever the whole purpose of that thing is. And then you'll have Mike Clevenger, who's just I don't know if you've watched his mechanics, but
yeah,
he's just so like jittery. Like I think that he's more unpleasant of a watch than Nestor. But yeah, you'll have the most unpleasant starting pitchers from a mechanics standpoint tomorrow. Then we'll have Luis Gil versus Brad Keller. Not going to pretend I know who Brad Keller is. Actually, Brad Keller looks like he has pretty decent numbers on the year. He only has one start, but he has a 2.84 ERA. He struck out 9 batters in 4 appearances. I feel like he's like an opener probably, or like a relief pitcher that they're having as an opener because like like who do the White Sox even really have? Like,
Dude, I was just trying to think. All I know is that they signed Mike
obviously they
Soroka,
have, yeah, they have Mike Soroka.
who sucks now.
Yeah,
Like I look at him,
he's
he's like
ass now.
intriguing on the dynasty. I'm always like, oh no, Soroka. Like he used to be like good, and then I'm just like,
Yeah,
it tells you the amount of runs they gave up instead of like ERA, and I'm like, oh my god, like this guy, he gives up like 5 runs every game. Like it's like
yeah. That guy. They have one pitcher who's pretty decent. Eric Fetty. He's not too bad.
he's having a
Uh,
resurgence here since coming. I don't know if he was in the Korean League last year or if he did the Korean ball, then the Nationals. But there's been a lot of a trend recently of players going to the KBO and then coming
and
back
then coming back.
and then
Yeah,
having some success. And he's one of the players I actually scooped him in a couple of leagues because it seems like
yeah. I scooped
he's
him in one league myself.
yeah, he's been able to get it together, and he could be a contending team that could be definitely be reaching out for him.
Yeah, yeah. I would imagine he probably will not finish the season on the White Sox, especially if he continues to pitch
Oh,
at the level
easily if
that
they
he
were
does.
smart.
Do you think do you think Luis Robert gets traded this year?
The White Sox never really struck me as a team like the A's, where it's like
Oh, we
they,
have to unload as soon as like
as soon as we know that they're like
yeah.
stars and we may have to pay them. I mean, like, look how long that they held on to Tim
Y-
Anderson, which kind of tells me that like
Yeah,
they,
but they're also like so far behind
it's
like
incredible.
they're Marlins level as far as like waving the white flag early, like they're definitely candidates for that.
It seems like they just have like bad like analytics, and that's why like maybe they hold on to people too
Yeah,
long
they just
because
don't.
yeah.
Yeah, they just don't make good decisions. But like it would really suck if I mean, I hope that I wouldn't mind particularly. I wouldn't hate it if like the Yankees traded for Luis Robert. I mean, you can never have too many outfielders. He'd be in. I like Alex Verdugo, but like Luis Roberts an upgrade. And then we'd have three real fucking dogs in our outfield. Like Alex Verdugo was
He can
right
play
when he said,
center too, I think.
"Yeah, he
Well,
could.
yeah.
Yeah, he could." Then you can move Judge back to then you probably get into like a platoon situation, but and then you still have Verdugo, so you could probably like you could move Judge to the right, and you could have Soto DH. Giancarlo could be like the backup DH, or like maybe you play him in left field if you have like an emergency or something.
It gives you depth and options, and
Um,
especially that
but
what you need going into the postseason.
But from a so yeah, I mean, obviously, if they trade him, like I hope that we get him, or I hope that he goes somewhere. I do hope that he goes somewhere where he can, where he can like play, where he can where the baseball world can like really see him, really see the player that he is and see it on display. Even though he's not having that great of a year right now, like maybe he just needs to get out of there. I don't know, but it would kind of suck, for the White Sox, like because I feel like it's like they pretty much just started. Like I feel like it was like yesterday where they pretty much were like just starting like their rebuild with Luis Robert. Where it's like, oh, like we're the White Sox, we suck, but like we got this sick new prospect, Luis, back when they were calling him Luis Robert,
Yeah.
and and now it's like that's already over. So I mean, it would kind of suck for the if they had to like throw in the towel, that early, but like this might be he's only signed through 2025. Like this is probably the time to do it.
Yeah, sorry, that was my reaction to someone on the Rangers just throwing an absolute dart from the defensive end into the empty net. Looks like the Rangers are going to go to the
Yeah.
Eastern Conference Finals for the second time in 3 years, if I remember that correctly. But yeah, I actually just remember it's yesterday that the Field of Dreams game. That's when the White
Yeah.
Sox were competitive with the Yankees, and like that was like all the hype. There was a
Yeah, that game was
rivalry, like
crazy.
yeah, and like all of a sudden it's just like
Yeah, and
nope.
then now it's just like over. So I mean, it would suck from that standpoint, but yeah. So the Yankee, and then in the last game, yeah. So the Yankees aren't going to see Eric Fetty, but in the last game, it's going to be Rodon versus Chris Flexen. Flexen.
Former Met, and he also
Yeah, I knew it.
came back from the KBO.
Yeah, I knew I recognized that name from somewhere. But yeah, I mean, he's having not a great year. He's got a four. I mean, his whip is pretty solid actually. He has a
He was
1.26
really good for
whip.
Seattle. I don't know if he was a starting pitcher, or I think he ended up like being he did a little like long relief, and I guess he went to the KBO to like become a starting pitcher, and then came back to get a role with the team for that area.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, definitely that's a series I feel like, they should be able to win every game. We play the Mariners after that. Obviously it's a little early to dive too deep into that series. But I will be at the Yankees. I will be at Yankee Stadium a week from today for the game against the Mariners.
Oh,
Uh,
let's go!
so I am excited for that. Uh, and obviously, I mean, the Mariners aren't necessarily. Well, actually, shit. What am I talking about? The Mariners are in first place in the AL West. So, yeah, that series I expect will be much more competitive and interesting. But I'm definitely excited to go back to Yankee Stadium. I don't go to living out of state, and with Yankee Stadium just being like kind of a pain in the ass to get to. I don't go to too many games. So this will be the first time I'm going there in like a couple of years. So definitely excited to go, and definitely excited to go get a chicken bucket and see Juan Soto play as a Yankee for the first time, and get drunk and enjoy myself. But what is in store for the Mets after they this game that they're in finishes, if it ever does, because I see that it is they're in extras now.
Yeah, so I put the Rangers game, thank God, on, and it looks like that.
Yeah, that's
they,
probably the right move for your mood.
yeah, I mean, like I'm
It's
realistic
not
at
good
this
for my mood.
until they win consecutive games in a row. I'm just not gonna fully invest as far as living and dying by each game. So I'm just gonna wait. Show me something. Show me the money.
Yeah,
but
no, that's fair.
But for the good litmus test, I guess, for this weekend, I don't know if they line this up ironically, but the Mets have a three-game series against the lowly Marlins. So you're going to really tell if they can pick it back up, and they should be able to take it to them, at least on paper. Um, game one, they got Christian Scott going, so that's going to be, a must watch every time he pitches this year for the sake of
Yeah,
whether they're good or not. Against Luzardo, who I think the Marlins trade for recently a few years back as well, and he's just having an absolute shit year with about a 6 ERA. Severino continuing his strong start on Saturday against Garrett, who has a whopping 8.44 ERA for the
Jesus.
Marlins. And then we rounded out on Sunday with Sean Mania, another one. So, Sevy, you have a 3 ERA so far this season. Sean Mania, 3.05. And then he will be facing off against Sanchez, who also has a 6 ERA. So,
Ooh, what are they feeding those kids down in Miami?
definitely not. They're definitely not going to the pitching academy
No.
that most minor leagues are setting up now, the pitching farm.
Yeah, no, they gotta stay away from those bath salts and whatever they're feeding them down there that's making them pitch like that.
Yeah, they're getting they're getting a little too jacked up. Maybe going to the coast and partying with Pablo Escobar relatives, and should probably stick to fixing their mechanics. But I don't know that organization has completely, you know not even a half a season yet. or not even a quarter of a season, and it's a spiral compared to making the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what we got. We're gonna start scheduling back on getting regular times until our next trips or festivities take place. Do you have anything else for us before we close out with episode 4?
No, I think we pretty much discussed everything there was to discuss. We got our let us know in the comments if you have a song that you would walk up or walk out to. Let us know in the comments. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You could follow any handles at the ticker that you want to follow. That includes me if you want. But definitely make sure you're required to follow the other ones. I am like the optional bonus question on the quiz that you can decide what you want to do with that one. And yeah, go Yankees, and we'll see you next time.
Yes. So, Chris said it best. Thank you all for watching, listening. Hit that like and subscribe. Call that number at the bottom of my screen. The Mets desperately need run support, and they can use it from any sort of area where you call from. So, thank you for joining us
They might put you on
once
a
again.
brief hold though.
They might, or they'll just decline it. They'll just decline it right away. They don't need the support.
They'll hit the fuck you button.
Exactly. But yeah, so that calls it. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Peace.